Thanks for coming today, thinkLA. Thanks for inviting me. And I am really, really pleased to have the opportunity to talk with all of you today. Bottom line, what a great time for all of us, right, to be in this business. And what I came today to talk about is how ABC and more broadly, the Walt Disney Company is thinking about the video marketplace and all of the change that comes along with it as it basically just tears through what we have known as the TV industry. So consumers, we know, are embracing new devices, new distribution, and enhanced ways in which they're watching their favorite television shows. And we're spending a lot of time, right, and thinking about how then we're going to embrace this change, and at the same time, make sure we strengthen the advertising business, which essentially supports, right, our entire consumer economy. So in this new world, everyone has already come to expect a full complement of on-demand offerings. So that means a lot of things, right? We've got challenges, opportunities, headaches, great ideas on what that means for the content creator and the advertiser and that marketer. Ultimately, from ABC and the Walt Disney Company's perspective, right, we are a content company, and content is what drives all viewer interests. So I thought it'd be a nice way to start off this conversation with a quick reminder about ABC programming and how it's being watched.
One day while the light is glowing, I'll be in my castle golden. I just wanna feel this moment.
Time to rock and roll. Do you get it?
But live for the moment, makes sense, don't it? Now make dollars, I mean billions. I'm a genius, I mean brilliant. Time is money, only difference is I own it. Like a stopwatch, let's stop time and enjoy this moment.
Will you marry me?
Yes. What? No!
I really should watch more television.
I just wanna feel this
Thank you so much.
moment.
You were so magnificent and so inspiring.
Yeah, do you know what his movie was this year?
Oh, the Mastermind or something.
The Master.
Yeah.
The Master. None of you saw that?
No.
You know we're not gonna see no damn movie called The Master.
6, 7, 8.
This is way, way better than the History Channel.
As the show is airing, people are reacting.
I think they feel a connection with us.
Oprah, that's how she found out about Scandal. Shut it down.
I am not a hothead. I am Colombian. Gotcha.
¿Cuánto was enough? We don't...
Wow.
I love it!
It's a new world.
It's a new world.
So at ABC and the Walt Disney Company, we obviously make a huge investment every day, every month, every year in our content, from live, information, comedy, drama, long form, and even short form. And when we think about the overall video marketplace, we all know, obviously, the new forms of distribution are still growing, right? Mobile platforms, tablet, smartphones, and more behavior still on desktop and laptop. But the vast majority of video consumption absolutely is still occurring on the TV set, right? Live and delayed. So the sky isn't falling and television isn't dead. Actually, it's far from it. So what we're working really, really hard to understand, though, right, is how our audiences are moving across each and every screen. So depending on the type of content that they're consuming and where they physically are, environment, location, and who they're watching with, they're still choosing the best available screen. So we spent a lot of time and money and research to understand how a viewer's screen choice will impact their experience with our programs. So we fielded a study in our Austin Media Lab, And on a scale of 1 to 10, we asked those viewers or users what their program enjoyment was on each individual screen. And you can see it's really consistent. Again, the best available screen, which makes total common sense because that was their self-selecting choice. When we look deeper at a specific audience of a show, hopefully all of you are watching Scandal this year, you can see we've had huge upside in this year. Look at the 2013 premiere versus what happened a year ago. We've had tremendous growth across every platform. So television is still the ultimate delivery platform, right? Up 57% in the live plus same day universe, but then that delayed viewing on DVR and VOD is up 33%, a pretty impressive number. But the wow factor, obviously, is that huge growth in all of the online and on-demand behavior for Scandal. The really interesting thing also is if you take a step back and look at the contribution of what on-demand means for the overall audience of Scandal, right? 29% of our viewership, right, is coming from an on-demand platform. So every day I kind of wake up to a tough headline that says traditional linear television ratings down. That is such a small, though narrow way to look at quote unquote scale and performance. So in aggregate, if the latest numbers that I was able to look at just recently this morning through the middle of November showed that the traditional linear broadcast network, when you look at total prime impressions for adults 18 to 49, was down 2-3%. But if you were to add back in all of the demand impressions, we're actually up 2.5%, which is an amazing thing. So obviously the content is still driving that kind of behavior. We also wanted to look at a new show, and would it be different versus an existing show? And so in looking at the audience profile for Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we saw, you know what, there really isn't that much difference. Still really, really strong on-demand consumption, because if the content is good, right, there's going to be on-demand behavior. So in this case, very similar to Scandal, we have 30% of the total S.H.I.E.L.D. audience coming from those on-demand platforms. So it's the combined effect of great content, right, and the viewer control that we think is an opportunity for advertisers. It's hard, it's frustrating, but it can also be good and wonderful. So when we think about the impact, right, of campaigns, of ad campaigns that run on TV, online, and through our mobile platforms, clients are still running individual television campaigns, fewer and fewer, but most clients are truly running, right, through all of the ABC platforms, what we affectionately call unified. And we've done some primary research with the company GfK, and it did confirm, when you run an ad campaign across multiple screens, you're going to get higher ad recall and better brand favorability. So we know we have to make it easier for advertisers to just wend their way through this very, very complicated video landscape. So again, referencing ABC Unified. And by that we mean giving the advertiser, right, just like the viewer, just very common sense point of view on this, the opportunity for the advertiser to reach the viewer, the user, consumer, however you want to label that person, right, through every platform from ABC, right? Because scale is critically important, and making it easy and simple in a world, right, that is fragmented and that is complex, that's what the offering is. So we give advertisers that opportunity to buy ABC to reach every viewer, irrespective of that viewer screen choice. And then beyond ease of execution, right, we also think about how do we deliver value. So we worked with Nielsen to understand what it means for audience delivery when you have a television buy versus a unified buy. So in a TV-only environment, right, when we layer in all of those on-demand platforms, we know we can actually drive reach, but just as important, the subset of 18 to 49, you've got a tremendous lift in terms of exposures to that younger demo of 18 to 24 and 18 to 34. We know there's a zillion issues, right, that we're all contemplating and how we think about our business going ahead. Because the marketplace is so complicated, right, because it's so complex, we do have to make it easier, right, and we have to work together to collaborate on all of these new opportunities. Scale is still driving our business, but efficient targeting, execution, automation, these are all things that we're contemplating today. And as all these changes take place, the measurement solutions that we use, coupled with the monetization models, right, that we implement, are completely being rethought. It used to be a long, long time ago, right, you'd buy a unit, and then you'd wake up the next day and you'd look at the overnight ratings. So that's long gone, right? We've got a very, very hybrid marketplace where static ads can live in that linear broadcast environment, and the dynamic ad insertion impression marketplace can coexist. So there's a lot of debate, right, on how that world is going to evolve. Currency on television, should it be C3 or should it be C7? We've got to think about how we roll, right, this on-demand viewership into commercial ratings, or do we build a completely separate dynamic ad insertion marketplace? So these are all the different things that we're weighing. Or possibly, right, do we have a happy medium? And we know it's going to take time to work out, and ultimately, again, the couplement of enabling measurement and the monetization to support all viewership, right, so that we make sure we have a really healthy advertising ecosystem, and the model's got to thrive. Also, we have to have be looser and have new definitions of all the quote-unquote traditional terms. So TV doesn't mean anymore, right, the box in the living room. So as Pete commented, you know, at the top of this conversation, we're talking about video, right? And that means, again, from the ABC perspective, right, high quality, long form content on any screen. And there's interactivity, and there's binge viewing, and there's new devices that haven't even been introduced into the marketplace yet, but they're all going to impact, right, on how we define programming, how we define advertising, and obviously how we define audiences. Also, something that I didn't really talk about earlier, but just wanted to bring it up, because it is a potential barrier, right, to continued innovation, the issue of legacy rights deals and how they're not currently aligned, right, with the way consumers and their current distribution reality. So case in point, right, talent rights inside commercials and commercials that aren't cleared for the internet, which definitely will hold back certain forms of new program distribution. So something else for us to talk about. And as we work through all of these issues, right, ultimately we've got to maintain the right economic model, and balance is everything, right? Through all of this disruption, which we're all embracing, look, at ABC, it's in our DNA to be very, very risk-friendly. But through that risk-friendly environment, right, we still have to make sure we have a business model. And so defining that value proposition and all of the work with showrunners and producers and writers and content creators and the people who make our content, and again, in partnership with all of our advertisers and you, our agencies, for your planning and buying and investment choices, we've got to make sure, right, that all of the participants make the ecosystem work ultimately. So just a little bit of perspective, right, about the business side of the equation and, you know, what we've been doing at ABC. When I first took over in this role as president of ABC Sales, my business card read ABC Television Network. I soon came to realize very quickly that I had to alter my business card, and it just says ABC Sales, because again, when we talk about video and what that opportunity is, the cool thing for everybody in this room is that we're still learning and we have an opportunity to figure it out. So at ABC, again, the really exciting thing for us is truly understanding that relationship that we have with our consumer and our programming. And the one thing that we really know is the more access that our viewers have to their content, whether they're second screen applications or that incremental social environment, that programming is that much more important to them. So thanks very much. Pete, I think you wanted to come back up and throw some questions at me.
Thank you very much, Geri.
Sure.
It's really such interesting stuff. I think one of the things we talked about a little bit beforehand was this idea that video is video. It's on TV, it's coming on demand, it's on Hulu, it's on an iPad, it's on a full episode player on the computer. All of those things get negotiated based on the value that you can get from an advertiser and negotiate with their agency. Does it matter to you, to ABC at this point? Does it matter whether a person's watching it on television? Would you prefer that the iPad is the way that they do it? Because this monetization of the distribution is still a big question for a lot of us.
You know what? Ultimately, it's such a nice question for you to ask, but it doesn't matter whether I had a preference or not, because ultimately, right, our consumers or viewers, they are dictating the terms, which is why we're in this room, right, to try to figure it out. So I personally consume a lot of live television. I don't use my DVR because I want to make sure I understand what's the primary format that we're offering to our consumers, right? How much advertising, how we transition from content, the amount of promotion time, how local fits into the overall format. And so I obviously play catch up, in all of the on-demand opportunities. And almost every piece of research that we conduct tells us that most people want to learn about either new content or catch up. That ad skipping is a secondary issue, and otherwise you would see all of those subscription VOD, opportunities would have grown tremendously, and quite frankly, they have not. So no, I don't really care because the offering, and we're having more and more clients talk about ABC on every platform. Again, we're probably talking to 500 clients, in a given year, and I'm going to say that probably 250, almost half of them are now talking about not making the distinction when they buy ABC. It's not just, they obviously have to tell us, right? Because we all have those ad ops issues, but they're more and more often not making the distinction on the platform.
And then just one last thing that's related to that. I noticed I have 2 children in their very early 20s, and they watch television a lot differently than I do. As I said earlier, my daughter watched 7 years of Lost in one weekend. And obviously, this generation is looking at these things much differently than we are.
Yes.
As you look at the demographics across these different devices, obviously the trend is that we're going to be looking at stuff all over the place. It's not going to be just that main television, although it's easy enough for people to throw it from their iPad to the television and other things too.
Right. So we know that live, right, programming, sports, the American Music Awards, the Super Bowl drives very certain kinds of behavior. But you're right, alternative is again driving more live and a little bit less on demand. Device is definitely younger, a little bit more male. But again, it really does depend on the content. And the one thing I'll say about what we're doing at ABC is very, very risk-friendly, right, in making these decisions. And sometimes we're not right, in the platform that we decided to, choose, or the third-party vendor relationships that, we're all, wending our way through. So super complicated, but I think fun.
We're allowed to make mistakes in digital,
Okay.
so that's okay. All right, Geri Wang, thank you very much.
Thanks.